I'm sure it's no surprise that I harbor a ton of insecurities about, well, a ton of things. If you are a longtime listener, then you'll know I struggle with a never-ending battle with how I feel about my body, my relationship with food, booze, sleep, family. And if you're a real deep-cut listener, then you've definitely heard me share a few stories about getting bullied as a kid and not really having great memories about growing up. It was tough. I had two very best friends in elementary school that I remember just loving, and they totally ditched me. And from what I can see on the internet, I think they are still very close. I wouldn't necessarily say that it bothers me, but it does give me pause. Why am I not close with any of the kids I grew up with? Why am I a person that doesn't have some sisterhood of the traveling pants clique? The only two friends from early life that I have is my brother and my cousin Sara. Sara is not technically my cousin, but our mothers are best friends, and they have been for a long time. And Sara and her family are as close as family as I feel and I can get. And the funny thing about my brother is we were sort of mortal enemies growing up. And then I think things turned in high school, and then we became friends. But Sara and I, we were both in San Francisco in our early 20s, and we were real buck wild. What I was going to say is all of my Facebook memories, from the beginning of Facebook, is you and me just being fucking dinglings all over the place. But we had a good time.
We did. I mean, there's so many times where you're just how did I get myself in this situation? Oh, I'm with Liz Cully. That's how I got myself in this situation.
Oh, no. I mean, also you get me into, I don't know. I'm no, I guess it's really, I'm trying to think of an example where you got me into some sort of situation, but no.
I think I got us into the situation where we got kicked out of the CVS.
Yeah,
because you came down to LA. When I was in LA, you weren't. You came down to help me pack. And so I got you in that situation.
My God. In the fucking La Brea.
The Third and
Fairfax.
It's where that Whole Foods is.
Yeah, it's the Third and Fairfax.
By the Grove.
Which ended up becoming my CVS for forever. It's not anymore, but it was just funny. No, because you lived in, what are they? Why am I blanking on the name?
Park La Brea.
Park fucking La Brea.
I lived in Park La Brea.
Which is so funny because then I lived right there. But, I call you my cousin. I think of you as my cousin. 100, you know what I mean? There has never been, it's so funny. I've, as you know, moved my parents out of their respective apartments a bajillion times. And really, in looking at any photo of us growing up, I mean, it's you, me, Richard, and then kind of our ancillary, your old next door neighbors, Oliver and Thomas. You'll see a Catherine in there. We had this little crew of kids. Obviously, our parents were friends. Our moms were best friends and had done all sorts of wild things together.
Your parents got married at my parents' house.
Correct. I got married.
You also got married at my parents' house.
You got married at my parents' exactly. But I think I have this weird, I don't know if it's insecurity. I was telling you this before, but I don't hang out with anyone from childhood, truly, except for you and Richard, my brother. I mean, I see people at your house, like I said, I adore Thomas and Oliver. It's not that I don't trust them and love them. I just Thomas lives in fucking Copenhagen or something.
Yeah.
And Oliver is doing this thing, and I see him, at the holidays, really. But I would say a mainstay person in my life, I don't have many people from childhood, but you do. You're still homies with everyone we kind of grew up with.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like I'm the opposite. My best friend, Catherine, I mean, Catherine, you're all have been in the the whirlwind together. Like I've known her since we met at Time for Twos. We've been best friends for at this 37 years at this point. And, you know, even though we don't necessarily talk every day, but like we always make time for each other and hang out. And I am the opposite. Like I have so many friends that I've met later in life who are like my best friends from college. And, you know, and I don't have any of that. Like, I don't think I have a single person I know from college's number in my phone. Like,
well, I don't have any best. Well, I mean, I'm friends with Catherine, but like, I don't. But I think you and I lived a similar situation where like we went to a lot of different schools. We both went to boarding school.
mhm.
I feel like we've both endured institutional wrongs. That's like a big
Yes.
one for me right now. I'm really unpacking like institutional wrongdoing and anger. It's really intense. I'm like, I hate schools. Schools are bad. I think
Correct.
Rachel
And
just fell off the roof.
I am like you. I was a part of the troubled teen industrial complex. So I feel that.
Well, and so I think, you know, we know a lot of people. Like, you know,
Yep.
so many people. I know so many people. But like, even tonight, you're going to dinner with like people that we really, really grew up with from birth.
Yeah.
And I wonder if like, how do you think the relationships differ, or do they, from like somebody like me or Catherine or Oliver or Richard? I mean, Richard is Richard, but Richard's both of our brothers. So it's like,
I consider Richard my brother for sure.
Richard's for sure. But like, do you think it differs from like the friends that you met? Like, for instance, when you and your husband Clay start, like you guys have those kind of friend groups, like who are obviously your very close friends, but do you think that it's different? Do you think that you make more concessions for people the longer you've known them? Or is it more like what you've been through and it doesn't matter versus time?
Um, I think it's a little bit of both. Because like friends that I have made as I've gotten older, like I don't want to say it's performative because I have like good friends that, you know, I see and I make efforts to see. Because I need to make efforts for my friends because I could just go into my hole and just be like, see ya,
Right.
glad you're there. But friends that I've made as I'm older, sometimes I feel like it's a little bit more of an effort to maintain and cultivate those friendships. Whereas like you, Richard, Catherine, I feel like I could just like, if we're hanging out, we could literally just be hanging out, sitting on each other's couches, looking at our phones or watching something. And we're not necessarily like doing anything, but we're just together. And
Yeah.
like, also, if the shit really hit the fan, I know who to call. And it's going to be you, Richard, Catherine, Oliver. Thomas is in Copenhagen, but you know.
I mean, Richard's in Hawaii, but
That's true.
fair enough. But yeah, no, I mean, for sure. I think it's an interesting thing. Like, but I just see, and I don't know, again, like, I don't know if you've ever felt this way, but I see, you know, on social media, like kids that we grew up with in Marin, and they're all best friends still. Like from swimming and like all that shit that we did together. And I guess maybe some people look at all of us and they're like, oh my God, they're all still best friends. Like they're all family. You know what I mean? And maybe I'm just being silly, but I do kind of look at some friends that I had growing up. I'm like, wow, I don't talk to those motherfuckers at all. So I interviewed these two podcasters who are coming up that were friends growing up. And then they kind of reconciled and they've come back together as friends in LA. But I think it's interesting that you make the point of just being able to kind of be around people and having such familiarity and being comfortable. But I think I really like their podcast because they have known each other for so long. So they don't have to kind of do what you said, like that It's not performative. I hear what you're saying. It's kind of complicated because you're like, oh, it's kind of performative. I think it's like effort. I think it's
effort,
like effort, you know?
Might not be the right word. It's just, yeah. Like sometimes I feel like I have to just be like, okay, we're on. And we're being where it's like when I'm around people that I've known for 35 plus years, I can just be like, here I am. Like right now, like I'm in my gym clothes and just like, bleh.
I mean,
But
same. I don't know what you thought. I don't know what you
but
thought
like
that was. I'm like,
sometimes,
which by
like,
the
you
way
know,
is a joke for you because you're like the fucking fashion makeup queen of the world. So, but you like turn looks, so it's like I get it. You gotta have downtime. You know what I mean? You can't just be
yeah,
fucking out here just like breaking necks, doing turning it out. But you will tonight because you're going out to dinner.
I have an outfit picked out.
Uh-huh. 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 Just because I have to ask, am I the exact same as I was as a child as I am an adult?
Yes.
Really?
Not in like, I mean, everyone changes. You're not like 100% the same. None of us are. But I would say like you've always been loyal as fuck. You've always, you've never had a filter. And you say what you think and you have a quick wit and you are ready to, like, you have an opinion, you have a thought, you have contribution to a conversation always, ever since you were a kid. You have just like a true, genuine, good air about you. That's always been there.
That's nice. God. I thought
I
you were going to
think
be like, you talk too much. You're annoying. It's all the same, you know?
no. I think when you were like a teenager and in your 20s, and I mean, I could absolutely say the same thing. We all were just, you were chasing the party, chasing the boys,
Not chasing boys anymore.
No, nope. But like,
yeah, no, for sure.
Definitely just like 1,000 things. You're here, you're there, but that's youth. So I think generally, I think you're exactly the same. It's not like you were a bitch when you were not a child, but like as a teenager now, you're not a bitch, or you weren't then and now you are. It's like you're the same person, like the genuine original core. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, and it's same for you. Though I will say you really like, it's been so amazing. Like Clay, like that's Sarah's husband, who I really had to make sure he was up to snuff for you. But I adore Clay. But you've like really, come into you've just had like such a great run the last like 10 plus years. You know what I mean? How long have you and Clay been together? 12 years?
12 years, yeah.
Fuck. Well, and folks, before that, Sara and I were going to meetup.com. Is it meetup.com or was it an app?
It was .com. I think it's an app.
I still get emails to my Hotmail from
Dude,
meetup.com.
I still get emails from that beer group we went to where I made out with the leader of that beer group.
Oh my God. And that's when I met the guy in the wheelchair. Remember?
Yes.
Oh my God. Here's the thing, Sara. I'm sure the listeners, it's like I can't even really have you on here for a full episode because you really know too much. I'd have to kill you. You know? Like just too much. God. I guess it's good to know that I haven't changed much. And outside of Sara telling me that I haven't changed much, my diaries definitely confirm it. During the pandemic, like many other people on Instagram, I fell in love with comedian Becky Robinson's character, entitled Housewife. If you haven't seen it, I cannot recommend you look it up enough. And I was thrilled when I saw that she launched a podcast recently with her childhood best friend, Mariam, and it is called Start at Birth. It's totally not what I expected a podcast from Becky Robinson to be, but I love it. It's two people who have clearly known each other for so long, since basically birth, chatting about life that only two people can do when they've really known each other that long. There's not a lot of effort, as Sara, my cousin, put it. And I don't mean effort like they're not working hard. I just mean like it's not forced. The two of them just clearly love each other and know each other so well.
Becky's biggest concern is that people are going to like me more. And my biggest concern is that everyone's going to hate me.
Nobody hates you.
It's that you're like such a good voice of reason. And I am like just a shit stick of a human, like ping ponging all over the place. But
that's why it's so perfect. And you're not a shit stick.
No, but I think it's interesting, even just hearing you say that, because Mariam and I, like, Mariam was friends with my older sister. So
Okay.
it wasn't like it was, I think, because I have 2 friends from childhood. That's it.
Okay.
And
You're
we
making
kind
me
of
feel better. So we're the same. There's only 2.
2 friends.
Okay.
And I feel like
Yeah.
and I could never do a podcast with them ever. We would kill each other. And I think it's because Mariam and I like weren't, specifically close. Like it was kind of a once removed.
Totally. We we knew each other, but
Yeah.
it was a very much like a I'm friends with your sister and you exist.
Was your sister
Mhm.
pissed that you guys have a podcast together now?
No, but she
Yeah.
likes it.
I was like, I haven't asked her.
Oh, you
I
didn't
thought
ask
she was-
permission. It wasn't like one of those things where you have to ask like the other friend if you can become closer.
Oh no. I
No.
mean, Sarah, my sister stole all my friends. I don't give a damn.
Yeah. We basically we knew each other, and then actually, like, not to air too much dirty laundry, but like Becky's sister and I had a falling out. So like
Yes.
I didn't really talk.
Just kidding.
I didn't really talk to either like Becky or her sister for like Becky and I, not because we had a falling out, just because we weren't that close. And
Yeah.
Sarah, we didn't really talk like through college. It wasn't maybe like our last year of college. We kind of like reconnected for lunch and we're like, oh yeah, we still think each other are like very funny. Like Sarah's hilarious. Love her. Like it was just
Not as funny as Becky though, right?
well, she's not a comedian, but she's very funny.
I would say she's the middle child and she is way funnier than I am, but she's more shy. So she would
Got it.
like feed me the funny stuff and I'd be like, look at me. But I'm the youngest and yeah.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
But yeah, we like we reconnected, and then that's when like, I mean, there's so many layers to this, but then Becky and I started, like, I worked at a coffee shop. I was leaving for that summer. Becky worked at that coffee shop before she went to college. So like we never worked together, but she was like my replacement. And then so we were like kind of in that same circle. And then like after that, Becky was in town from like she had already been in San Diego, started doing stand-up. And I was friends with Sara again at that point, and Becky was in town. We all got together. And then I think that's when we even like exchanged numbers, and it became like more of a like, oh, we're friends now. And then I moved to LA and it just felt very natural.
So you
Yeah.
guys really kind of, because that move to LA, that's almost where because it's kind of fun to be in LA and have somebody from your real life living here.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
totally.
Because it's a weird fucking place, especially because how you guys
So
were young.
weird.
You were like in your 20s, right? Early 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Becky was the only person I knew when I moved here. So yeah,
She had no one.
I was
I'm like-
desperate.
Like, Mariam, I'm gonna plug you in. You made friends pretty fast though, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, I tried. Work makes it easy. You like work in an office and then you make friends through work, and then it like spirals. Or standing outside of a Pilates studio.
Becky, what was it like to have, as you were going in, starting your comedy career, I guess maybe even starting some characters or playing with that? How was it to have somebody that like knows, quote, the real Becky in town?
It's very nice.
Yeah.
It's just because, well, Mariam, I think just from the jump was like a very no bullshit person, which is like, it can be everyone in LA if you're not careful. Like,
Don't I know it?
don't you know it? Or just like, I really just from the get-go, she was just like very real with me in a way that I felt like no one else was. And it was kind of like, it felt like family. It felt like something your sister would say to you. So it was just like, yeah, this is like, I need this.
Yeah, I think it's hard. I think, I always say to people when they first move to LA, and I'm sure you guys can, besides the fact that you had each other, you sort of like meet people and you either will know them forever. For instance, Becky and I were talking about my friend Sarni, who everybody
Yep.
knows through all of my podcasts. And Sarni like can't shake me. I mean, my God, like we've known each other from jump, right? And then actually I just reconnected with a friend of mine named Ron, who's a comedian as well. His name's Ron Funches. He and I met like,
Oh,
Ron's the
yeah.
best. We met like his first month in LA, and like that's still my homie. Do you know what I mean? Like you meet people and you keep in contact with them, or you meet people when you first move to LA and you're like, oh, you're like on meth, or like, what shady scheme, or they just can't hack it. Like they come here, their parents pay their rent, they like try to make it. Like if they're gay, they just get fucking blacked out in West Hollywood too many times and they got to go home. They didn't show up for work, or they just realize that LA is not for the faint of heart. So that's why I kind of loved your story of you guys, you know, knowing each other from, how were you in kindergarten together? Like, I mean, I know there's the age difference, but was it that long, like elementary school, or was it more middle school, high school?
Was it Mary Woodward?
It was, like Sara and I knew each other from elementary school. So Becky was definitely in elementary school, but I was probably in middle school when I was like over at the house a lot and we were close. But yeah, it goes way back. Like,
what do your parents think about Becky dragging you into entertainment?
Well, I was really worried because my dad's strict. I talk about it on our podcast. He's Iranian, so I'm half. So grew up in like a strict Middle Eastern household with high expectations. And
you really failed them by becoming an architect, I'm sure. I'm kidding.
Yes.
By becoming a really smart, put together architect. God damn it, Mariam. Shit. Like, no wonder you had to start a podcast. Fuck.
Yeah.
You know?
Got nothing else going on.
Exactly.
Okay, so what does your dad think? Yeah.
Yeah. So I was super nervous. And I told them, I was like, okay, we're doing this. And they know I'm friends with Becky and they've like watched her comedy. And they're like, some of the stuff is a little racy, you know, but they think she's funny and they have a good sense of humor. But I told them, I was like, I don't think I want you guys listening. Like, I just don't want it to cause a family feud. Like the last thing I want is for us to like we've gotten to a point where like, you're not really my parents anymore. Like we're friends. I don't want anything to like make you embarrassed or feel like parental again, you know, like let's just don't listen to it. And then there's no reason to argue or potentially fight, you know, but of course they didn't listen to me and they listened to the podcast. But my dad was like, we were on a call like a few weeks ago and he was like, at the very end, he's like, okay, well, I got to tell you something. And I was like, okay, like, are you sick? Like what is it? And he's like, I've been listening to the podcast and I really like it. He's like, it just makes me laugh every day. Like I listen to just hearing your voices and I just think you're both like such good people. And it was like the sweetest, like the best response that I could hope for. And I don't know, it was just like a weight lifted. Like, okay, we're good. Parents are good with it. They know. And I told him too, I'm like, you're probably going to hear me talk about sex and drugs and whatever. Like, if you keep listening, you know, and because I'm just talking about my life. And he's like, no, he's like, I really just like, I like to know the person you are. And I was like, okay.
That's lovely. My parents don't.
Shit. Yeah. If my parents did that, I think I wouldn't need to go to therapy anymore.
I'm like, oh my God.
I would
suddenly
kill to get.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, my parents don't love me at all. So I can't understand anything. Becky, like, how did your parents, like, what did your parents think when they started seeing like Entitled Housewife and you know, some of your other characters?
Well, they've been seeing like a lot of wacky characters since I was really young. I've like always had wigs and been insane. But Entitled was, yeah, I think a lot of them, they're kind of like, they had definitely have their favorites. Susie Chapstick was the character I was doing a lot before Entitled. And that character was like birthed on a very specific trip home where my mom was like going to the doctor to what she thought was hear that her cancer had come back. And I like flew home because my dad was out of town and it ended up being like a mistake. And so we went night skiing to celebrate and the whole I like went to Goodwill. This ensemble happened to fit in I started mogling to like make my mom laugh with a wig on. And she was like, you're Susie Chapstick. And so like, she had a big part in like the creation of that character and just like thought it was really funny. And then Entitled, yeah, again, like Entitled was more so me home during the pandemic and just being annoyed by my parents. Cause my mom, like my mom had a brain tumor and cancer. And so she was like, I don't want to be locked down. I want to be inside the house. I want to go to the Thirsty Lion with the girls. And my parents are
Honestly,
just, like,
fair enough, Mom. She
I
should
know,
be
I
able
was
to
like-
do whatever the fuck she wants to do,
Yeah,
quite
I was like-
frankly.
I was like, preach, Sinbad, okay? But then my dad was like going golfing every day and just being home for longer than a holiday for the first time in like whatever, a decade, and just like being a fly on the wall to my parents' antics. I was like, you guys have lost your goddamn minds. And I really think I was like about to lose mine as well because I like hadn't performed in however long. You know, it was like I didn't really have that outlet. You know, I was like attempting to do a dance on TikTok, but that wasn't enough. And
It's never enough,
they went
Becky.
out of town for
It's
like
never
it's never enough. They went out of town for like one day, and I just like put on the wig, went in my mom's closet, put on all of her stuff, put on my dad's Oakleys, and like the character just exploded out of me. And when I released it, I almost didn't put out the first entitled video because I was like, is it okay to even be posting stuff right now? Like things are scary and just I don't know if anyone is like wants to be laughing right now at anything. And then I took an edible and I was like, fuck it. And I released it. And then once it got like, you know, 1 million views or whatever, I was like, oh God, I want to show my parents because I mean, you know, maybe they'll be proud of something. Like I haven't given them much yet, you know, like like they're not, what were they supposed to do when I got on Wild and Out? You know, my mom was like, she's like, what am I supposed to say at the grocery store when I run into Shadia? My daughter's a rapper, you know, I just don't know what to do, Bex. And so she's been very confused by my whole career. She still doesn't understand that like performing and like what brand deals, like she doesn't understand that I am able to earn even $1. Like she doesn't like bought a Tesla like in cash. And she's like, how?
You're like drugs and rapping,
and like,
rapping and
and
drugs.
stripping. I'm rapping. I'm doing everything. So I show them the first entitled video, like hoping they'll be proud. And it's just dead silence. And finally my mom gets up and she goes, you know what, Bex, it's just a little close to home. It's a little close to home. Okay. And she was upset that I used my dad's country club name in the video. And so they were pissed at first, but then once like my dad would go to play golf and all of his friends were like, your daughter's entitled housewife? Like, can you get us some merch? Like, can we get an autograph or something? Then he started thinking it was cool. So they don't think anything is like cool on their own. But if someone tells them it's okay, then they'll be like, all right, what you're doing is fine, I guess.
I've never identified with anything more. Also, when you like ever, country club included, when you released that first video, the amount of people that sent that to me that was like, is this your mom? I'm like, yeah.
Oh my God.
Full stop. Also, like to a T, just replace the wine with like fucking vodka because she doesn't drink wine because it's too many calories in it apparently.
Yeah.
It just made me die laughing. And I think like, you know, people know, I mean, I'm such a wasp. Like I was a debutante. I was a debutante though, and I smoked a blunt and I had a nose ring when I went with my like white gloves. I mean, I don't make any sense.
Badass.
Like as a human being, I just don't. I don't make sense. Like
Are you from Dallas or where?
I'm from San Francisco.
San Francisco debutante. That's a whole, I mean,
Yeah, San
the
Francisco
upper
was?
echelon of debutante.
You know, I mean, I gotta tell you. And then it's like, but at the same time, I've like probably smoked weed with your favorite rapper. So like it doesn't, I just don't make sense. And so a lot of people are like, what the fuck? But there is this like hysterical, like country. It is just so funny. Like I'm a member of a yacht club. I don't have a boat. Oh, I heard in your episodes you weren't even allowed to go on boats. Mariam, what the fuck? Why? They thought you were going to drown on a boat? Like what was the... That really struck me. I got to tell you, like when I heard the boat thing, I was like, damn, that's robbery. Like sleepovers were terrible for me. I never even wanted them. I was the kid calling my mom at the sleepovers being like, my tummy hurts. And my mom's like, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. And then like,
honey, I couldn't drive if I wanted to.
literally. Or just being like speaking of the yacht club, calling the yacht club being like, hi, is Mr. and Mrs. Cully at the bar? This is Elizabeth. Yeah, my tummy hurts again. Can you come pick me up? And like, no. Like no one would come get me, you know? It was terrible. Anyway, so why no boats?
Okay, well, I recently, a new development on that. My brother said he was allowed to go on boats. So this
misogyny at its
yeah,
finest.
This girl wasn't allowed to go on the boats. But I think there was an association of like boating and river people. Because in Oregon, it's like rivers are where you're boating. And
River
it was
people?
like river people and like drinking. So he was like, I don't want drinking. Like you could get in an accident because people are on the boats drinking. So it was a safety concern. Apparently,
I was thinking
apparently
it was
didn't have the same thing for my brother.
More about around that time. I don't know how old you are. I think you guys are a little younger than me, but I was thinking more it was like Aruba. Remember that girl like disappeared? Boats, Aruba.
Yeah.
Like never a worse time for
Could have
Aruba.
been.
You know what I mean? Natalie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible.
To be fair though, too, my parents used to like, I didn't realize how weird this was until I got older, but like the beach they would always boat to was the nude beach. And when it's like a river, like the Columbia River, it's people would come walking. It was always like guys would come walking down in a cutoff tank with a backpack, dick askew, which is one of the worst ways to like first see a dick.
Yeah,
literally. Like, I think, Becky, we wonder why we came out later in life and we're interested in women. It's because of askew dicks. I honestly
like little peacocking under the tank top,
Yeah. Just like,
idiot.
What is that? It like makes you go in for a closer look and then you regret it instantly. Yeah.
And it's like just these really like just like loose skin, overly tanned butt cheeks. Bad stuff.
Yeah.
Woof. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great segue into, I guess, my next line of questioning. So, again, and I keep saying when I listen to your podcast, I really do listen to your podcast, and everybody should go like, subscribe, and write a comment. But it's funny because I always find it interesting speaking to my straight girlfriends, and they tell me stories about their like extracurricular activities, and it sounds like the gayest shit of all time. And before we started recording, Becky and I kind of commiserated with each other that it's like, we're gay, but like not that gay. Like, how many times can we be like, yeah, that's gay. I'm like, or I'll like I feel so insecure sometimes. I like talk to lesbians and they like go on and on and on. And I'm just sitting there like, sure. Me too. Like,
yeah.
No, the gayest thing about me is that I'm married to a lesbian. Do you know what I mean? But you, Mariam, talked about this like naked clothing swap party on your podcast, and I am here to side with Becky and say that's the gayest shit I've ever heard, and I have never. Ever, as much pussy as I have eaten in my life, I have never done a naked clothing swap with a bunch of girls. So Becky, do you feel like, you like everybody's even more gay than you? Like, have you settled in and you're like, wait, everybody else is the gay one, right?
Yeah. I, like all my friends, I'm like, you're gay. Like,
yeah.
You and your girl, yeah, exactly. Everybody is gay.
Like I have a friend who only watches like woman on woman porn. And I'm like, honey, I guess that is more common than I knew, but I don't know, she's been in like a 10-year relationship with a man and just like can only watch and get off to like female on female action.
Yeah, scissoring.
I'm like,
let me tell you, a word I never want to say ever again because I've said it ad nauseum in my life. But yes, I mean, that scissor kick, that really gets those straight ladies going. How did you have to like come out to Mariam, or like what was that like? Since she's one of your oldest friends here in LA.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I remember you were a little weird.
I wasn't. It was like a very casual, nonchalant. Becky's like, I went to this bachelorette party and there was a girl there and I think I have a crush on her. Like, I think she was like super hot. And and it was Erin. But I was like, what? And I was like, I don't know. Becky says shit all the time. That's funny. So I was like, how come you never felt that way about me? Like, I was like giving her shit. Like, why? How come this? Because the way she was describing Erin was like, one, she's hot, which I was being indulgent and being like, hello, what about me? And Becky kept like rolling her eyes. And then like, I never really got another update. And then she called me and was talking about how she was telling her, like she kept talking to Erin and was like, I think I'm going to tell her that I like her and like all this. And I was like, oh, crazy. But it was never like you were calling me because you were struggling with how other friends were responding to it.
Yeah.
And so I was just kind of like, dude, you like who you like, like, I don't know. It's not, you're not doing anything wrong.
Yeah. My sister has said something early on that kind of stuck. She was just like, I don't think you should tell mom and dad. And we had a little bit of a, I don't know, because our friends introduced us and then we were both like kind of in things with guys at the time and then started talking more and FaceTiming and stuff. And then like crushes developed, but it was like really scary, like just even noodling on that. And then also being like, okay, what are these feelings? And we had to like spend time together to like we had to do R&D to be like, is this something? And we had to do it also while like not telling our friends. So we would be like, with all of our friends and they'd be like, well, they've gotten close, but they didn't like know anything. And then eventually like shit hit the fan and they were like, something weird's going on with you two. What the fuck? And
they're like, why do you guys keep wearing each other's clothes? Is that her hair tie? Whose hair tie is that? No.
Why do you guys keep baby birding each other food? Eventually I didn't even know what to say. I was like, Erin and I are attempting lesbianism. And that's just how it came out. And then after that, it was kind of like, all right, I was more wanting to tell people earlier or just give less details and be like, yeah, we're doing this. And that's that. And we're figuring it out. But I think with our first couple friends, it was just kind of tough because we didn't really know what to say at first and how to go about it. And like what our feelings were for each other.
How did you feel? Because I'll tell you from my side, because I've obviously been a fan for a while. I remember when you you posted kind of like a declaration post of you guys being together. And as a stranger, this sounds, as I'm saying the words and I realize I have to continue with the story, I'm realizing how creepy I sound. And I'm very embarrassed.
No, I'm excited for this.
I'm very embarrassed. And I would just like all of us on this trust tree of Zoom to understand that. But this is who I am. And here we go. But I remember seeing that and I was like, fuck yes. I had a feeling, but I didn't know. And I was excited. And it's funny because we talked, like I had already asked you to come on Scissoring because the bad thing about the last show is I think everybody thought they had to be queer to come on the show. And luckily, as it kind of progressed, people realized they didn't have to be. You know what I mean? It was like, whatever.
Yeah.
But I also didn't. Then I started to be like, oh my God, did I offend her by like asking her on this fucking lesbian show? And then, but I saw it and I was so happy. And I remember sending it to Sarni being like, fuck yeah, we gotta get this lesbian on this show. Like, so I wonder when you made your relationship with Erin public, what was the like lesbian fandom outcry to you like? Like, was it a flood? Was it respectful? Like, what has that been like? And what was that like?
I feel like it's been most special with like longtime friends that are gay. Like, it wasn't that crazy online because I feel like people are still confused, but like with the characters, they're like, I'm sorry, are you married to Scott or are you a lesbian? Do you have kids?
And
how old are you?
I think you are married to Scott, and I think you are a lesbian.
I think we check all the boxes here. You know what I mean? No, but it was nice. It's been really. I love like the people that reach out and say like same thing, like late in life les. You know, I was just watching Chelsea Handler's special, and she's like, "We're losing, like women, like they're done with men." They're done. They're like late in life. They're like, I've had enough with you and your antics, and I'm going over to the other side.
Yeah, truly.
And I didn't really like make a declaration like that. I think I just fell in love with Erin, and who she is. But it's been nice to like the people that were like, I didn't know what these feelings were. And the people that have said that I've helped them make sense of their feelings and act on them or tell the person or come out has been really cool.
That's exciting.
And it was just really special.
Like, am I going to see you at Dinah Shore? I've never been to Dinah Shore. I mean, do you know what Dinah Shore is?
What is Dinah Shore?
Oh, boy. Oh,
brother. Oh, God. Do I need to Google it? What is it?
Also, can I tell you both how I can't wait to be like to my wife, because she makes fun of me that I'm just like barely gay. She's just like, you are not the person people should be asking this shit about. I'm like, yes, I am. I know everything about the LGBTQIA community. I don't know what you're saying. I'm actually like a big deal. And yep. Yeah. So Dinah Shore is this event that's been happening in Palm Springs for like 20 plus years. And like Fortune, I'm sure you know Fortune Feature and Jax. Yeah. So Fortune's been performing there forever. They've had like Kehlani. I mean, like major performers have like gone there first, kind of like in their career. It's a big thing, but it's a massive lesbian. It's like fucking Coachella for lesbians. But I'm terrified and I've never gone. I think
this is our year.
Is this like Lilith Fair? Do you guys
No, it's not. No, of course Lilith Fair. Yeah, no. It's not Lilith Fair. It's scarier because it's like it's like an EDM festival, but lesbian. It's very intimidating.
Well, let me just grab my DeWalt. Load that shit up with some high noon and call it a day.
I mean,
I need to perform at this.
I think you
call my agent.
Call your agent. If you perform, I'm going. But also, I don't do anything Gen Pop, so I need to walk the carpet. So that's like a whole other thing. But we gotta go. Like that's where it's funny. I feel like when I sort of, I mean, and I wasn't. Nobody gave a shit about what was going on with me, but I've never had like a public coming out. My mom was really not excited about it, even though I have one of my brothers is gay, but I had some people cool, some people not. I mean, I think it's all a mishmash gamut, but I tried to like kind of do really gay stuff when I first came out, and I didn't know if like Dinah Shore feels like the gayest thing of all time, and I still haven't done it. So that I guess that shows you how my journey's going.
What sort of gay stuff?
Like I would go to like the Abbey. There was a great party in LA called Booby Trap.
Ooh,
yeah.
Did you go to that?
I think so.
It was amazing. It was on the east side. It was in like a basement. I would just like go to gay parties like that, and I thought I would go to a Pride, even though Pride is very, in my opinion, feels very white, gay, male focused, which like, just dicks on dicks, which is fine. But yeah, I feel like I did stuff like that. Like I'd like go to gay bars and I'd be like, do I need to hear this like toxic remix one more time? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't really like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm like, oh God, So I think I tried those things, and I've really just settled into like who I am and what it is, and what I love, about kind of how you've publicly approached it, you and Aaron. It's just like it's your life, and like that's like who you love and what it is, and I don't think it always has to be some like crazy rainbow wash. Though I'm here to publicly say, give Becky all those Pride deals, and myself included. Mariam, you're an ally, but please don't get those brand deals. Just give them to the gay folks, please.
Yeah, exactly.
Give them over. It's in the same time that like Aaron and I were kind of like, yes, we like each other. We're going to pursue this. I had gotten cast as this character on Nickelodeon named Parker J. Cloud, who was a literal rainbow, like a non-binary rainbow that was basically came from the dark side, but like was supposed to be the rainbow after the storm. And so like everything in my house is like, it just all was very rainbow, everything at that time. And I'm sure a lot of people were like, okay, we get it. But
I mean, you always were a fan of colors, but there were more rainbows that came about after Aaron in this new era.
What advice, Becky, have you given Mariam about now being like on a podcast? I mean, I can only imagine you guys have gotten comments and suggestions. Because don't I know it myself?
I don't know what we're gonna do when bad reviews start coming in. If
I know.
because we're so insecure, and like we've done episodes where like literally every 10 minutes we're like, what's wrong with us?
I like them all. I've listened to them all. I think they're great. I mean,
we've done some heavy editing.
Some heavy editing. What advice have I given? God.
Oh, like, if you don't remember, I do.
Okay, what if I? What if I? Is it bad? You mean?
Okay, no. I mean, we had it on the podcast. We aired it, which was to tell better stories. Which I was like, that's the whole point of the year, is that I'm bad at telling stories. That's the title of our podcast. You also told me to be more animated, which I think is good. Like, I think it's good advice. Becky's been giving me good advice. I think the biggest help has been like, because I'm just not used to lights and cameras and microphones and like, and also like, I would say like Becky's not used to collaborating to this degree on stuff too. But it's like, you know, so used to doing stuff on her own and like, this is the vision, this is what it is. And now she's got my annoying ass being like, but I think it should be this. And I have no experience.
Mariam's like, I've been researching TikTok and SEO. And I think if we up the ante on hashtags, I'm like, Mariam, shut the fuck up.
It's true. But I'm like, it's all so new for me. So I'm like, I want all the advice I can get, but also I'm hypersensitive and insecure about being like, I can design the shit out of a building and I can do your interiors. And I'm so confident in what I know, but this is clearly like, I'm in over my skis. I don't know what I don't know yet. I've never even scratched the surface into like how social media works, aside from like, you know, posting like 3 times a year.
You've got jokes though, Mariam. I know you got a whole notepad of jokes waiting. You're ready for memes. Just start those memes. Like you go on Twitter just to write out jokes and then repost them on Instagram. You know what to do.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
I think the best or the thing that I always try to tell anyone is like, because I just got Mariam her first voiceover job, is just like the thing you learn early on in voiceover is like, even though you're talking into a mic, like pretend you're talking to your best friend. And that same for the podcast. Like, don't think about the cameras. Don't worry about the lights. You know, you might be having swamp ass and sweating your puss off. Just talk to me and just like be present and be here. And I think that will produce the most like authentic version of
and I think even if I tried to be entertaining, I would fail. Like, I think the only thing that I have to offer is that I can be myself, and like for some reason our banter works, you know.
You guys
like,
have great
we're
banter.
And we're legitimately like, aside from the couple episodes where we've been like about to get our periods and like hating our lives, I feel like we genuinely are having fun. Like, what you're seeing is not pre-rehearsed. We go in there not knowing what we're going to talk about, probably to a fault, and then we figure it out and edit out a lot.
What do you hope people take away from the show? Like, why would you want, like, what if I'm not trying. I'm serious. No, listen. And it's such a strange, because for me, I'm like, wow, this is really interesting. Like, Becky, obviously you've been a pretty public person for a while and you have all these characters, and I think people are trying to get to know you. And I think having someone that's known you for this long and how comfortable you are with each other, like even talking about drinking, like talking about you wanting to like expand outside of architecture, which by the way, I have 1,000 million fucking jobs. So if you ever want to talk about that, I can tell you how not to do it. Just kidding. But like, I think I think there's a level, because there's that comfortability there and true like trust, you guys are able to kind of take it down to a deeper level. Is that sort of the point? Or like, or is it, are we trying to teach Mariam how to be concise in telling stories?
It kind of started with that, but I also, it started, well, I really wanted to do a podcast because I'm in wigs a lot, because, you know, what we put online is like so chopped up and small. And I feel like there's a lot of times there's people in entertainment that you don't really know that they're struggling until it's maybe too late.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really hear about like someone, you know, going through the tough things as they're going through it, because it's like you see a biopic after, you know, of like whatever happened leading up to, you know, their success or their death or whatever it may be. And I just felt like I want to talk about this stuff while it's messy, while it's fresh, while, you know, Mariam is branching out and doing new things, while I'm like traveling all over the world doing these shows, like building out this character performance and, you know, just kind of doing everything and like dealing with, you know, mental health stuff and drinking and, you know, just trying to balance life and relationships and work and trying to like, you know, stay happy and make people laugh.
Yeah.
I just kind of, I really did just, there's sometimes when I listen to podcasts and you're like, oh, okay, I'm not alone. Someone else is going through this, or someone else feels like this, or you get that little laugh that pulls you out of whatever darkness you might be in. And that's kind of what I hope our podcast does. Like either can, you know, get you out of your own head and get you to laugh a little bit so you can shake that shell of angst or depression or whatever, or just to let people know like you're not alone or you have a friend and it's us.
I agree. I think obviously I don't have like a public, like I'm not a public figure in any way.
Not
so I
yet.
think for me,
Not yet, Mariam.
Not yet.
For me, like the goal in this is to I think one of the things Becky and I, like the reason we talk for hours on the phone and like the reason we have we bonded over so much stuff that you wouldn't think, like on paper, like she's a comic, I'm an architect, like we're very different, but like when we're together, not only are we like having fun because we have a similar sense of humor, but we also have like helped each other with work stuff and like the creative process and like being, when your job is to like create something out of nothing, there are so many parallels between like design and comedy. And I'm sure like every other creative field that I think it's just nice to like talk about those and get the perspective from a completely different field too.
Yeah, definitely.
So I don't know. I think that, and then, like the part that's been really fulfilling for me is like, like Becky said, we haven't gotten any negative feedback yet, which is like, I'm terrified of the day that starts. But for now, it's like people are like us sharing, like, I think I know I'm the worst at this. Becky and I are both like somehow not embarrassed to tell embarrassing stories publicly. And I think there's something really special about that because every single person does embarrassing shit. And so many people hold it in and like will never tell the world or like are mortified at the thought of like that being out there. And I just think we all, like, the more we talk about this shit, the more we all have in common with each other, whether you're like, you know, live in different parts of the country or have different political sides or are black or white or gay or straight or whatever. It's just like all of us have sharded, you know, like, can we just
why'd you have to remind me? I really try to forget it, like deeply, deeply, deeply try to forget that ever happened.
But that's what I'm like, I just kind of love that, like, this is like, let's find more commonalities than like trying to like separate ourselves from everybody.
No, listen, I really love it. Like I'm doing, it was a dry January and then I fell off the map, but I was in therapy.
By the way, you're not alone. That I've heard that from so many people. Like, so many people.
I've had like this year has been a little weird and a little rough, and it's been 2 weeks. But no, I really like appreciated you talking, Becky, about like the drinking and the performance aspect of it. And just like you get into this like habit and the anxiety wheel. It's like really tough. And like I was in therapy last week and my therapist was like, dude, you got to like fucking knock off the booze for a little bit. Like I'm not telling you to get sober, but I'm telling you to like fucking knock it off. And I needed someone to phrase it to me in that way because I've been like, oh, I'll go on a cleanse or, oh, I'll do this. And I just was like, no. I need to like knock it off. And like, think about it differently. And I've done dry Januaries and sober October. I've done all that shit before. It's usually because I want to lose weight because I hate myself. I hate my body. Yay. But, you know, recently it's just been like, I'm like, no, like I'm wasting time. I'm like, I'm doing this wrong. I'm not even having fun anymore. Like my wife doesn't even drink. So I'm just sitting there drinking red wine like I'm fucking Jesus Christ or whatever. You know what I mean? And it's like, for what?
Yeah.
I'm not even having fun anymore. Like it's not like going out with friends and like having a good time. It's like to get through. And so I really like appreciated that. And then Mariam, when you talked about like shitting at work, like, that's why I don't go to the office anymore, babe. You know,
Exactly.
but I think it's like, it's a good thing to talk about. And, you know, I think the honesty, but I think what's really special about having friends for as long as you guys have known each other and seeing each other as children and like growing up is there's that baseline familiarity and trust. Which is, to really circle it back, ooh, Liz, it's like you've done this before. I get insecure because I'm like, oh my God, nobody knows the real me. I have no friends from that time, just my cousin and my brother. And I don't even know, you know, so it is a little interesting. Though some people from my past now follow me on Instagram and I'm always, they like listen to the show and I'm like, is this so weird for you? Or am I the same? Yeah. Actually, that's my last and final question. Are you guys the exact same, but just in adult and tired bodies as you were as kids? Or are you like different versions of those kids?
I mean, I'm a little more pickled.
Same, girl. Same.
But I don't know. Mariam, I would say you seem pretty similar.
I think I think I think I was a really like uptight child. Like, I think I was nervous. I would like straight A's, you know, I just felt like the pressures to be perfect all the time. And I think as an adult, I've like loosened up a bit, which I think is a better version of myself. But I think I strive to be the child. Like, I want to be a silly, like I liked being a kid. I had a lot of fun. That was the most fun I've ever had in my life. Why wouldn't I want to continue to be that version, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm similar in kid like to my own detriment.
I mean, you're on like you're on Nickelodeon, right? That's the dream.
I'm a human cartoon.
And there you go. You're a human rainbow cartoon.
I'm a human rainbow cartoon, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Mariam and Becky's podcast is truly as endearing as they just both sounded in this interview. They are so smart and sweet and funny, and I love the range of topics that they cover on their show. Since launching my last podcast, I have reconnected a little bit with some folks from my childhood on Instagram, and I have to say it's as both nice and weird as it is jarring. It's like I know them, but I really don't know them. And, you know, I don't know how they feel about me. And also, like, I think they know me a little bit more than I know them because I'm a little bit more public than most people. So that's a little wild. I will also confess, I asked Becky Robinson to come on my last podcast, A Million Things, as I said during the interview. And I was like totally mortified when I realized and looked at how many times I had emailed her. So I just want to say, Becky, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for agreeing to come on the podcast. My 20-year high school graduation anniversary is this year, like the 20th reunion, and I am definitely fucking not going. I've had a couple of people reach out and ask me if I'm going. And by a couple of people, I literally mean two. And one of those people is one of my best friends, and he knew damn well I wasn't going to go. Because for all the things I've kind of said, it's like makes me so anxious to think about going back and being around people that I always felt like I should know and be closer to than I was. I can't imagine I would feel very good. Also, like, high school was traumatizing. Like, and also now I think with the internet, it's like, I know what all these people look like. Half of them live 20 minutes away from where we went to school, and they have like 3 kids, and they married someone from high school, which is earth-shattering to me. And here's the thing. I speak to like 3 or 4 people from high school. They're the only people that I like. You know what's up with me. I know what's up with you. Like, I don't need to go sit there and try to remember who people are, you know? I don't know. See, maybe I'm the problem. It's me. Anyway, I'd love to know if you went to your high school reunion and what it was like. Because I can't imagine, unless you peaked in high school, like a reunion would be fun. And I would also say that if you peaked in high school, then like, you ain't got nothing for me at a reunion. You know what I mean?